Hey guys, Dave, your Jiu-Jitsu uncle here, and in this video I would like to share with you my concepts, or at least my viewpoint when it comes to how I approach training. So essentially it's just broken down into one, learning something new completely, meaning something that I've never done before, or I have seen it once or twice but I've never really tried doing it, versus adding specific techniques or specific details to add to fundamental things that I already know that I can perform relatively decently but not well, that should elevate my skills to facilitate a higher chance of success. And then the last part, discovering new affordances and new opportunities to add new techniques into systems or moves that I'm already very familiar with. So I hope you like this quick video, and if you like this kind of stuff, please give the channel a like, a subscribe. I appreciate all your support, and without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are going to start with an arm drag. So JC now trains in another gym, and recently their Professor Mujig, was teaching them arm drag details that I wanted to learn, because that's something I'm not really that great at, especially in no-gi. So one of the things that he was showing me is essentially where to put the pressure to take the person down, like putting the head and chin weight onto the shoulder blade area that allows you to break the person down while you're doing some sort of like a spiral from standing to taking them to the ground. Again, there are a lot of ways to do arm drags, and of course I know how to do arm drags. It's just that I'm not great at it, so that means this is a training for me to learn specific details, how to enter an arm drag, and how to set things up in different guard is not the objective here. It's really just to understand why the technique works, and specifically in this case, how to use arm drags to create imbalances on the upper body that facilitates a drag down to the mat or a foot sweep, as you just saw. So here I'm going to try to do it, which means I have to kind of make some adjustments in terms of how I approach how to do an arm drag based on the lesson that he learned. So one of it is, like, when I do an arm drag, I'm grabbing a little low, like I'm grabbing at the elbow and the armpit. I was being corrected to grab as high as to the armpit as possible, not in the tricep. And as I cut the corner and do the drag from here, a lot of times, I just stay square and just take the back from here, and we're both kind of straight. So here, putting the pressure on the shoulder allows me to break down and do a combination of like diagonal spiral, wherein one pressure is on the elbow, in the shoulder side, and then as I do my use my legs to spiral around, that creates the angle that allows me to take the person down. That is a very, very good detail that, again, it's not something that is part of my natural game, so it's good to get that awareness in, to put that pressure onto the shoulder to break the person down, to make them touch the mat, to facilitate other attacks easily. And as you can see, that JC also like kind of started with exploring he's trying to do like foot sweeps from there, whether it's a backside dashi or like some sort of like a Tayotoshi type of blocks, which led us to exploring foot sweeps off from this sequence. And what we realized was, getting the person bent down usually results to a reaction for them to force lean back, which shifts the weight backwards. That should facilitate a rear leg foot sweep a lot easier. So that's something worth considering. And if they don't go back, then obviously you can just do a throw by. And in this case, like, I'm a little more in tune or experienced with than JC in terms of foot sweeps or entries to like a vertical standing type of off balancing, just not in the arm drag. So we're exploring how can we do this in conjunction with the Uchimata entries that we like to do. I usually like to do it in overhook, if you can see it from my older videos, but now we're learning it from the underhook with the forward posture break opportunities available. So doing ankle picks such as this becomes a lot easier because the weight has been shifted forward. Again, it's not something that we explicitly wanted to train. It just provided a affordance for us to explore it. So now JC wants to see whether or not doing Diashi threats is something worth entering or exploring for him. So again, we are trying to focus on making sure that we are putting enough threat for the forward part to begin with, to the mat touching part to begin with, because without that, it will be a little difficult to do the foot sweep because of the weight shift, right? Now that we're able to load a lot of weight onto my front leg, which should facilitate an Uchimata really well if you want to go that route, if the person is already leaning very, very much forward. At the same time, that also affords us to explore backside trips. Now we got Ralph involved because he got interested because he doesn't do a lot of stand-up. So we want to show him just the basic entry of like an Uchimata threat to a back sweep. So right now we're still working on the underhook. So we are exaggerating the amount of lean forward and back. So again, because Ralph is not as familiar with this sequence, we try to cover a little bit of the details just to avoid, just to make him understand what the tendencies are in terms of which foot loads the weight and how to do the sweep without like hooking and causing inefficiencies on the sweep itself. As you can see that he is still bending the knee, which makes it a little hard to do the sweep. And I'm just showing him that he can try to just block the rear leg rather than trying to sweep or hook the leg, right? You can just do circular movements and just use your foot to block the Achilles or heel part, and that should facilitate a very nice foot sweep using the upper body's underhook to induce the backward motion, right? So you can see he's lean them forward and lean them back. It's relatively simple once you get the hang of it. If it doesn't work, you just spam it. I like to spam these low risk type of takedowns more than shooting for singles or doubles because again, I'm scared of being sprawled on. I'm scared of being landed upon. So foot sweep is something that I like to do. And as we are starting playing this, we realize that an ogoshi or a hip throw opportunity kind of comes into play as well. So so we're just kind of adding that in. So in the next type of training is what I call experimentation, meaning it is usually off moves that I or my partner do not do at all. It's not because we don't know the mechanics of it. It's just that maybe it's a new sequence, maybe it's something that is not part of our game at all, and it's worth exploring. In this case, JC wants to try this half butterfly into saddle entry of Oliver Taza. So you're going from a knee shield to a reverse, like an arm drag position, and off to a butterfly lift. And then off the butterfly lift, you're going to enter a saddle. So in this case, JC wants to figure out how to get into the inversion, the body mechanics of it, as well as finishing the actual leg entry as such. We kind of realize that for JC's case specifically, he may need a little bit more work in terms of the actual butterfly lift. And then for me, I am a bit of an idiot when it comes to like slow sequential stuff entering leg locks. I just get confused as to which side to enter. So we're trying to do this really slow at the moment. We're going to invert and get into that position. Again, this might not be the right example to use if you're still relatively new, but in general, like we play butterfly for quite a long time. We do arm drags for quite a long time. We're just not inversion experts, or it's just not part of our game. So it's something that we really need slower, like methodological movements to understand what is facilitating or what is enabling the attacking person to do certain movements that allows us to enter that sequence, because otherwise just doing it passively is not really going to be useful because we don't know how to induce that movement. So again, if you can watch like how I try again this time, so I'm trying to get that sticky butterfly hook. And I realized that, if the other person steps a little forward, it actually makes it easier and I don't have to invert as much just to capture that leg. So it might be something worth exploring for me, where instead of completely inverting, I try to do more a stronger butterfly lift to make them step forward. Yeah, exactly. So enabling them to take their left foot forward closer to my head will enable me to protect my neck from an inversion. But as you can see, I'm really a bit of an idiot when it comes to like figuring out which is left, which is right when it comes to rolling under people. So I kind of need a reset and need JC to do it to see what exactly is going on and what are some cues that will help me out. And in this case, it's the knee grab that will help me figure out like which direction to go and which leg to attack. So that's a good visual indicator for me to go after. And as we start to play around with this a little more, so again, I try to go from a knee shield, get in a half butterfly, get in an arm drag position. So JC was telling me that, try to use my framing arm, my arm drag arm, and shift it towards a lat push that will pretty much guide me to the fact that I need to attack that leg instead of the other leg. So you can see that we can enter into double trouble and cloverleaf, etc., etc. So that's a good training exploration for me. It'll probably need a lot more time for me to figure things out, but at the end of the day, it simplified things enough for me. So now we are trying to do more entries from seated guard rather than straight off a knee shield. That allows us to play more momentum based entries. But after playing a couple of rounds of that, I realized that if I still have my preference of doing knee bars and Mikey locks, for example, rather than heel hooks, because I get confused where to pass on to, where to pass the leg left and right. So I have a very heavy preference in playing knee bars, and JC wasn't familiar with the grip that a black belt friend of ours, Jordan, was showing us in terms of how the Mikey lock grip comes into play. So as JC was playing around with heel hook entries, it gave me a chance to kind of show him the difference of that grip, which is essentially just lining up the entire lower forearm to be in line with the shin. Is that the femur? I think it's the femur, because that instantly elevates the heel and puts a lot of tension into the inner ligament of the knee, as well as put a lot of torsional breaking tension on the foot itself. So it attacks both the feet, the instep, as well as the knee. And it also makes it quite difficult to pull out in this position. Again, JC doesn't play knee bar as much compared to me. He wants to go for heel hooks, but we are combining exploration as well as like experimentation in terms of learning here. So we are learning an entry that we both are not super familiar with, but after we got a little bit more familiar with the mechanics of it, we can now work on various finishes depending on what we both like to do. Right. So again, when you are experimenting on things, it's good to train things that you are not good at, and just so that you understand what is going on rather than just keep working on your A game, so to speak. So I hope you like this video. I hope you find the differences in terms of approach of how I look at training. And until next time, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Jiu-Jitsu Uncle out.